I can't tell. It'd be great if somebody could just let me know if my microphone's working. I can't tell if it is or not. Oh, hang on a minute. There we are. Oh, yes, I think it is. Oh, yeah, look. Oh, you can hear me. Brilliant. Thank you, Jean. Yeah, the screen's changed a little bit. Where I was normally looking, it wasn't working. So just while people are gathering, I'm just going to check that I'm live in Facebook, but it seems to be that I'm a little bit slow on the internet for some reason. Craft it with the... I'm just going to make sure I'm on Facebook. Go live into the group. It's not giving me that option. Try that one. No, I think Facebook's being a little bit slow for me. Okay. I think what I might do, I'm able to craft along at the moment. Oh, hi Beverly, how are you? Yes, apologies. What I'm just going to do is just going to make sure that I can just share the live into... Oh, there's been one share. Perfect. Why can't I share from there? That's quite frustrating. Okay, if somebody can share this from where they're watching on Facebook into the Crafting with Lisa Horton group, that would be absolutely perfect for me, because I can see myself live on Facebook. For some reason, I can't share, and I don't know why. Just when you think you've got Facebook sorted, I don't understand it. I don't actually use it on my computer all that often. Oh, here we are, share. Share into... into a group and post. Okay, perfect. I think I've done it. Great. Sorry about that. Okay, who have we got with us? A few people. We've got Kimberly, Jean. Hi, Helen. How are you? I'm glad you can hear me okay. Tony and Linda and Sharon. Hopefully later on. Oh, this will be a card that I think you might quite like today, Beverly. Hopefully. I've gone with a fancy fold card, which is unusual for me, but we did have a request for one, and it's actually worked out really nice. And I thought what I'd do, I'd use the new potted poinsettia, which is from Lisa's newest collection and is just featured on Create and Craft, I think, as well, isn't it, with Catherine. And I'm going to team it up with the pick of the week, or Lisa's pick that's on the website as well. So I'm going to use the Eggshell sentiment. So I'm actually going to make a thank you card, and I'm also going to be using some of the new rainbow holographic card, which is just stunning. I think you'd really, really love this. So I've got a fancy fold card. I've already mocked up the shape for you, and I shall put up a slide in a minute with all the dimensions. But basically, I'm just going to create a fancy card like this. And it's not as complicated as it looks. I always get really, really thrown with fancy cards like this, but this is actually a really nice style. So I shall go through that with you also. So let's put up some slides. Again, another reason I was a minute or two late with you is then my slides weren't loading onto the system. So I am going to go with this one first. Here we go. So this is Lisa's Picks, just to let you know, if you're signed up to Lisa's website, which is thatcraftplace.co.uk, you would have probably got an email about this on a Monday morning. Most weeks, it's not every week, but most weeks, Lisa puts on a Lisa's Pick onto the website. So it's it can either be a new release, it can be one of our old favorites at a fantastic price. It's worth tuning in, just having a little look, and just there might be something there that sort of really catches your fancy. But this week it's a brand new release. So we have the holographic card, and we have the rest of the set of the Eggshell sentiments as well. So we have the holographic card, and let me just show you here. Now, the holographic card that we've had in the past has been fantastic, and it has had a rainbow of colours on it already, but this rainbow card just really does excel itself, and you can just see there you get 24 sheets, and I think there are 4 designs or 4 colours of each. So you can see this one here as like a goldy hue to it, and then we have this one which is a more of a rose gold feel. And apologies if I'm blinding you on this at the moment, but it really has that sort of oil on water sort of look on it. You can sort of see some of the colour sort of going through in a swirl there. So that one really does have like the rose gold tint in the background, which is a colour we know from the holographic card already. This has the lilac to it, but obviously it's giving you more colours than just the lilac in the background. That's the lilac. And then also we have the, it's a gold, but again, that also has all of the colours in it as well. But you'll see what I mean. If you do get this as part of the package, or later on down the line when it is offered as an individual item, you will see that there is like the background colour, plus you have all the holographic properties, or the rainbow properties also. And then the rest of the bundle, we have the Eggshell sentiments. So we have the wedding day ones, which are really, really useful. And each word in each of the dies actually is made up of 2 layers. So you have the one word, the detail die, which gives you the word, which can be used by itself actually. You don't have to layer it, but it also gives you that shadow mount that you can go behind also. We have the baby ones. Now, you know, Lisa never ever creates anything without good reason. So the fact that we have a baby set here means there may be something in the pipeline that may be useful for baby cards in the future. We've had our wedding cake, which the wedding words would be useful for. We've got lots of different embossing folders, which, like padded quilt, for example, which would be perfect to put the baby sentiments onto already, plus any of the other embossing folders that you might feel is appropriate. We have this one, which is a really nice generic friendly set for us. So hey you, so we've got hey you, hi and hello. Lovely words for that. And also the last one, which I'm using today, is the thanks, best wishes and thanks. So I'm using the thanks today, so I'm making a thank you card. So these are really, really useful sets to have, and there are another couple that have already been released. I think we've had the happy birthday ones, and also the amazing and awesome one actually. And I'll just show you, we've also had the birthday ones as well. So it's a set of 6 altogether, and this is the final 4 that we've got in the collection today. It's available as a bundle at the moment. They will be offered to purchase individually, but that will be at a later date. So that's Lisa's Pick, and that is available as a bundle until Sunday at midnight. So I'm just going to put this slide up now. These are the items that I'm using today. So it's the potted poinsettia. I'm using that in itself today. You know what I'm like. I like to just sort of concentrate on one set of products just to highlight them for you, but I am teaming that with the thank you card today, and there are the colours that I'll be using to stencil with. So I'm going to go with a lily feel with these poinsettias today, just to show that they don't have to be just for Christmas. Who else? Oh, we got Cheryl. Hello, Cheryl, and Rebecca as well. Oh, we've got a few people with us. That's great. So yes, you can see from the slides the colours that I'll be using, but I'm going to go through how to actually construct the card first, and then I'll get into the stenciling. Yeah, it'd be really nice to see those stenciled together. So I'm just going to put these to one side at the moment. This is my base card that I'm using. So I'm going to go, I shall put this slide up, actually, the one that's here, I shall put that up at the end if I remember, just to give you the details. But then if I don't remember, when the video is sitting on YouTube for you, we always add the details in the description underneath. So you'll always know the products that we've used, the product numbers for you to be able to find them, and the inks that we use as well, just for your reference. Okay, so I'm going to, oh, here we are, put the next slide up, and these now are the dimensions that I've used for the card. Apologies, the lines look a little bit skew-whiff. I don't know why. The more I played with them, the more skew-whiffed they looked. So apologies. So I just sort of went with them as they are. But if I bring in the template that I've already made, hopefully it will make some sense to you. Okay. So the base card that we're actually using is 8¼ inches by 7 inches. Okay, and this will fit and fold into an envelope. You fold the card itself, I'll show you in a second. Now, our paper and the card has a wonderful memory to it. So once it's folded into the position that you, or into the shape that you want, it will always go back into that if you burnish that well. So I've just folded that up into the shape that we are going to sort of present that to, and it will therefore fit an envelope. Let's get my ruler. It will fit into an envelope 4½ inches by 7 inches tall. So you'll go into a DL envelope, I believe. Let me think. Yes, it probably just fit into a DL sized envelope, which is perfect. It's a little bit shorter than a DL card, but that will be, if you don't make your own if you don't make your own custom sized envelopes, then I'm pretty sure that'll fit into a DL card for you. So what we need to do, you'll see we have 6 score lines, which are the broken lines. So they will go down horizontally, and that's what allows us to have this sort of zigzag fold here. And then we have 6 cut lines which allow these areas to pop out. So I'm going to show you how we do that now. I can do that, and I can keep that on screen actually. So I'm going to use my scoring tool. Now we need to score 3 lines at 1 inch, 2 inch and 3 inches. So we do score lines down like so. Now you'll see that the next set of score lines are an exact replication of what we've done here, and I've marked them, as you can see, at 5¼ inches, 6¼ inches, 7¼ inches. But what I found, the easiest thing I found to do was, once you've scored your first set of 3, turn your card round and do exactly the same again at 1 inch, 2 inch and 3 inch, and that will put your score lines in exactly the right position. Okay, so I found that a lot easier way to do it. So your central section here will be the same size as if you were to score all the way along. So that's just your preference on how you might want to do that and how you use your score board. So what we want to do now, ideally, is just give these folds a quick burnish down. We can do this again in a second, but it will just help us see where those fold lines are going to go. So we can just do that quickly as we go down. Right, I haven't shut my blinds down today, so although it's gone quite dark outside, I think my light's going to be quite bright and a bit unpredictable at the moment. So hopefully that will sort itself out in a moment for you. Okay, so you can see how the card is going to start coming together now. So basically, without the cut lines, we have the shape of the card. And actually, there's no reason why you couldn't use the card base like so and create a card of this sort of shape. You know, that's entirely up to you. So what we want to do now, this is where I'm going to use a ruler and a pencil. This is, I find, the simplest way to be able to do this. And we want to score, just mark down at 1 inch intervals all the way down the side of our card. Okay, just with your pencil and your ruler. So we do that down both sides. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So now I'm going to match both of these marks on either side, but I don't need to draw that pencil line all the way through. That light has really blown out a little bit, hasn't it? So bear with me. I'm going to close my blind. Oh, let that fall. There we go. That makes that light a little bit more controllable then, doesn't it? Okay, so come back to ruler and pencil, match up your points on either side, but the pencil mark that you want to create, and I'll show you, I'll put this one alongside. You only want to create that pencil line over those scored lines. So where we've just scored here, 1, 2, 3. So basically you'll see we're creating a square, and you only want to just create that pencil mark just lightly through those scored lines. So I'm going to go all the way down and do that. Because remember, these are the solid lines that are running horizontally on that slide there that you can see on my little diagram. And these are the lines that we are actually going to cut through. And that is the last sort of the cutting through is the final stage in creating this card blank. And it really is quite straightforward. There's a couple of ways you can make those cuts as well. Everyone's going to have their preference, particularly if you're used to making shaped cards. Okay, and I'm just going to see if I can turn my lights on now. Oh, too much, too bright. Might just turn it down a little bit. There we are. Hopefully that's okay. So we can see we've got the drawn lines across, and you can see how they start corresponding to those sort of cut at the pop-up parts on our card. Now there's a couple of ways to cut this, I suppose. You can use a craft knife on a glass mat and your ruler, and you can just score all the way along. That would be a really convenient way to to create those to create those score lines. Oh dear, I'm struggling with my lights today. Let's turn that back down a bit. There we are. There we are. We should have that under more control there. That looks better to me. So we can have a craft knife and a ruler, and we can just score all the way down. And we could have done that instead of just drawing in those lines. That is really blown out. That colour, isn't it? There we are. Perhaps we'll do that. Apologies, I'm being distracted by the light there, and I'd want you to be able to see what I'm doing. But I don't know why it's so bright today. That's really distracting. Anyway, let's carry on. The other thing we can do is if you have a trimmer, but you have not a guillotine, because I usually use a guillotine and you'll see me using that later on, quite possibly. But if you have one of these trimmers that have the slidable blade and you have the pinpoint blade here, that works really nicely as well. So if you can just see, this is a Fiskars trimmer I'm using here, but there's a lot of trimmers that work in this way. And if you're comfortable using this and you're familiar with your trimmer that you use, you can line up that pin blade that is sitting there onto your cut line and make those marks that way. So I'm just going to line that up. Now, I've done this earlier on and it worked really well for me, so I'm hoping I'm just going to make that mark there. This is where the pencil marks that you made down the side of the card are really useful, because that will help you line up that blade. So I'm going to do that and make that incision along there, and then the second one down on this side. Now I'm making sure I'm only cutting in between those score lines that I made earlier. So I'm going to line those up. That one's sat on there perfectly. And what I'll do, I'll go through the majority like this, but then there is another way that you'll be able to do this with a pair of scissors, which again might be something that you're even more comfortable to use. So I'm just going to do these next sets like this. And I think it's worth me going through and doing this just so as you can see how this comes together. So make those score lines. I'm going to do this last, I'm going to make this line cut on the trimmer, and then I'm going to do the last cut with a pair of scissors. Okay, so I can take that away. You can see that I've got those score lines there now, and those are popping out. This final line here, I still need to cut. So what I'm going to do, because we've got the 3 score lines, I'm going to fold just down the center score line. So my pencil line is facing upwards. I do apologize for this light today. I really don't know why that's not working. So I've got my pencil line there, and I get my pair of scissors, and I'm going to just cut that pencil line that I can see, which is basically going to those outer score lines, and that will give you a good enough cut there as well. And I should do the same again with that in a second, and I'm just going to try and sort out my camera lighting just so as you can see what I'm doing. And I don't like it that the light's so dark. Okay. Okay, let's try this again. So again, we have this, there we are, we have this pencil cut here, or this pencil line here, that hasn't been cut. So I'm just going to fold that center crease line upwards so I can still see my drawn pencil line. And I'm just going to make sure that that's even and bring my scissors in and cut along the pencil line towards the next score line there. And that works well because you've drawn the line symmetrically across the both. That works both ways. So now we can start manipulating these cuts to shape the card. So again, we just fold the card down so we have the central panel facing upwards. And then just from behind, we can just start poking out those folds that come out like so. And then just fold your card back down again into the position it's going to be as a folded card for you to put that into an envelope. And I'm just going to make sure I score that down all the way and just make sure that those folds are truly set and those creases are truly set in that position. As I say, paper has a wonderful memory, so once it's been really set into that position that it's going to be, it's not really going to go any further. So now you can see that we have our shaped card like so that will actually stand up like that. Now, how you go and decorate this from now is absolutely your choice. You can see in the little bit of text at the bottom here, I've given you some measurements for some mats and layers. So this is where I've actually used the rainbow card or the rainbow holographic card to create some mats and layers to go on the side here. So you can see this first set of mats and layers. Yeah, I've done them in two pieces, so you've got the symmetry going both sides. So we have this one is a 3/4 inch wide by 7 inch long, and this one is 1/2 inch by 7 inch long. So these are quite slim. You can choose to do them the width of the fold there, or depending on the cardstock that you use, you could emboss these panels, you could leave it free, you could leave them undecorated. It's entirely up to you. So this is where the artistic license and the style of the card that you're making will really sort of take control as to how you go and decorate that. So I'm just going to layer these together like so. So I've already done that one layer. So we've got a nice, it's a very slim panel, but because this rainbow holographic makes such an impact, I think it works really, really nicely. So I'm just going to put that on the side there. Oh. It looks slim, but once it's actually in situ on the card, it really sort of shows its own. Put that on the side there. Now this card is very straightforward to manipulate, I think, because if you wanted to make a smaller card, or if you wanted to make a card that would perhaps fit in a C6 envelope, so it's more of a 6x4 size card, you can just shorten the length. I mean, this is 7 inches tall, but I really did base that on the design of the poinsettia that I'm going to be using, you see. So I needed, because the poinsettia is a 5x7 design, I wanted a card that was going to be tall enough to take that. But it would be quite easy just to take this card down to this height, and then you'd have just the two fold out sections there. So I think that would work really well. And so once you've made it a couple of times, you'd really get used to sort of manipulating that. Now there's a different different ways you can decorate the front of this card also. I've created a large panel, perhaps to go down the centre, and I'm going to wait until I've stenciled the poinsettia to decide on how I'm going to do this. But this is the large centerpiece where we've got one piece here. I've got mats and layers. The white underneath is 2" by 7", and I've matted a piece of the rainbow holographic, which is 1 3/4 by 7". So that can sit on that front panel there. Again, this could be embossed or you could leave it free. Then the final set of mats and layers that you see here, I've actually created the panels that can go across this way. Now it's entirely up to you how you lay these. These panels themselves are 1" wide because our fold out areas are 1", and they are 4 1/4" long. So I'm just going to put this one together. But again, if you were doing slightly different dimensions on your card, I would sort of urge you just to measure the areas of the panels that you have there yourself, just to make sure that these fit. Now, again, you could also emboss this, particularly with a holographic card. That would look fantastic. It really does depend on the style and the decoration of the card that you're going to be adding to that. So we can add those onto there. And if you wanted to, you can always add that over the top also. So you have lots of different styles, and say it would make a really great Christmas card, which one of our design team, I couldn't actually find the card itself. One of our design team had made something and had given Lisa as a sample, and Lisa had shown it on one of her lives, and one of you eagle-eyed lot had sort of picked it up and wanted to know how it was made. So that was a Christmas card. I'm making this into a thank you card, but it looked fantastic, all in blues. The holographic card was embossed, I think, and there was a snowflake on the front, and not the poinsettia. So that is how we make our tower card construction. I say it comes together really quite easily. It's not as scary as it looks. But I'm going to put that to one side, and we are going to start stenciling with our poinsettia now. So I'm going to remove that slide, I hope. I'm just going to put that one on again just while I get my ultimate out, and we can set up for stenciling. So I'm hoping you can see okay. Let's take that one away and let's have a look on the chats. Who have we got there? Hi Sandra, not to worry. You love the card, and I know, Laurie, the new paper is fantastic. So we were really treated, and I think we all really loved, and we're all coming to the end of our original holographic card. So I think Lisa's judged it just right, and we're ready for a new set, new colours. So I'm just going to take my super smooth card, cut that in half just so as I can start stenciling there. So I'm going to bring my colours in. How is everybody finding the light? And maybe it's bothering me more than it's bothering everybody else. It just feels like I'm sitting in the dark here a little bit, but my colours look okay on the screen. So I hope that's all okay with you. Actually, I've noticed, Cheryl's here. Who managed to tune in and watch Cheryl yesterday? Cheryl is new to our design team, and she has very kindly and very bravely agreed to do some lives with us each week, and her first one was last night, and it's on YouTube to watch as well. So you can always catch up, as with all of our lives, as you know, they're always there for you to catch up with. But I think she's done a fantastic job, so I look forward to what she brings to us, hopefully each week, but there's no pressure there, Cheryl. I'm just getting my camera sorted out. Okay. So let's do some stenciling so we can get a nice poinsettia on that card we've just made there. So I'm going to bring this in. The poinsettia is from Lisa's 2024 release, so this year's Christmas release. Obviously, being a poinsettia is a Christmas flower. The stencils, we have the layering stencils, which are a set of 9. You see Lisa has set them out on the back for us with different colorways, which is actually quite useful. That's something new that Lisa's done for us, actually. So it'd be really useful to know if you find that useful, particularly if you're stenciling and you're new to Lisa. And she's also given us a little hint on the back here, telling us that each stencil is numbered. Start with stencil number 1 and apply the ink lightly. And as you go through the stencils, the colour will, you can intensify your colour. My screen seems to have frozen. I am having issues with the internet today, aren't I? My screen is unfrozen. Am I back with you now? Hopefully I am. It looks like I am working again. I'll just check before I continue just to make sure that everybody, you can all see me okay and hear me okay. Looks like my microphone is working. I'll just check that you're all with me. Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Sharon. Oh, technology. What would we do without it, eh? Great. So, oh yes, a few of us said that you saw Cheryl's live. Oh, that's brilliant. That's great. I know she was quite nervous initially, but I knew she'd do a great job. She does she's been doing lives beforehand, so she was a pro. So let's get back to stenciling here. As I was saying, the new setup with Lisa's stencils and embossing folders now is that you will receive the die in with the layering stencils and not the embossing folders now. Just to remember that, but you are reminded on the packaging here. So I'm going to leave that there. Move that out of the way. Now, let's open up the stencils. Put that over there. Okay, so you saw the colours that I'm using here. I have Rhubarb Jam and Sugar Candy. So I'm going to attempt to make these flowers more of a lily, more of like a day lily. You know, the white ones that have the pink running through the centre and that smell lovely. So just to sort of change things up a little bit and just show you that the stencils don't always have to be Christmas related. Obviously, we can't get away from some Christmas, you know, if it got snowflakes on whatever, you know, you're pretty much set on that theme. But if we can make our stencils go further, then make them work hard for us in our craft stash, then all the better for it. So we're starting off with the vase down here, and I'm using painted eggshell, which is one of my favorites to use for this sort of thing. It's a really nice neutral. So I'm going to stencil like this. Again, I'm going to add an element of shading on there just by sort of creating some sort of light source. I'm not going to be too fussed with it, but down this bottom corner the ink is going to be darker, and this top corner underneath where the flowers would be, or the leaves and the foliage, I'm going to make that a little bit darker as well, and leave the vase a little bit lighter through the centre. If you struggle with working out light sources and things, it can be a bit tricky, but you can have some sort of a basic theory. If you have like a white stripe going through the center, that will give the illusion of a shadow and light and dark well enough, I think. So I've got natural turquoise here because I'm just going to add a little bit of that just to sort of make the painted eggshell just a little bluer than it would normally be. So I'm just going to add a little bit more onto that and just make those darker areas a little bit darker, but I'm doing it with the natural turquoise just to add a little bit of a different spin on the painted eggshell colour, because the inks blend so nicely that it's just a really nice thing to do. And these two colours work really nicely together. So I've blended those inks for the vase. Okay. So we have the leaves here. I'm not going dark green with the leaves, so therefore I've brought in the Margarita. Again, I think this would really help to change this up from the Christmas look by going with the lighter, fresher green. So I'm using the larger blending brush for this, because we can put a lot of ink down quite quickly. And just before I move on from that, I'm just going to use a smaller stencil brush and add some shading just to the base of the leaves, because the stencil brush, these smaller stencil brushes, pick up and lay down more ink a lot quicker and a lot more concentrated. So you can see now that I've got that extra little bit of shading going on with those leaves just by swapping to a different stencil brush. So we have another set of leaves. So I'm going to do exactly the same this time round. I'm going to bring my larger stencil brush in and really lay down that ink to start with. So I'm going to really make sure I pick up the ink on that brush and really stencil that through. So this covers a lot of area quite quickly, which is ideal, particularly when I have everybody watching. So I'm going to put that ink down like that, and I'm going to again use my stencil brush and add some shading at the base of those leaves in the same way that I did before, perhaps going a little bit heavier this time, just so that this layer of leaves has a little bit of difference to the other set, because that will just help us with the layering and just the sense of layers and the different layers of the leaves that we have. And then before I move on from that, I'm just going to bring in my blending brush for painted eggshell, pick up only a little bit of ink, not too much, and I'm just going to again just into the base of those leaves just put a tiny bit of painted eggshell. And what that again is doing is just adding an extra layer of shadow, and again it's just that point of difference between the foliage on stencil 2 and the foliage here on stencil 3. And when I take that stencil away, you'll just see how just that small bit of painted eggshell, which does not appear to be blue, it's a really good neutral colour to be able to do this, and you can see the difference in those sets of leaves already. So I'm just going to check. Actually, what I've done, I've actually stenciled what I thought was leaves with the red flowers. So this is going to be turning out to be completely different to how I expected, but that is absolutely fine. So now we have not red poinsettias, we've got like green poinsettias. But you know what? I'm going to go with it. I'm going to go with that, and I'm going to make it work, because I think what I'll do, I'm going to carry on and just make this a lots of foliage. I think what my plan was, where I've put green, I was going to make those white with a little bit of pink in the middle. That's what my plan was. And you know what? I think I might do that another day just to show you how that's going to work. But I'm going to continue with the way that I've done this now. So we live and learn. We live and learn. But you know what? I think against the pink, this is actually going to work out really nicely. So we've got those stencil number 4. We have just tiny little leaves here, but that's just to complete the flowers that you can see sitting there. So that works really nicely. And I think what I might do, thinking on my feet now, I'm going to leave stencil 4 there. I'm going to pick up a tiny bit of rhubarb jam, and just into the base of where those leaves are, I'm going to put a tiny bit of pink. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to work backwards. Now this is just, I am thinking on my feet here now, just to rectify, not an error. There's never an error. We can always salvage these things. So I'm just thinking on my feet again. I'm just going back a little bit, and where I put that extra shading in with the the painted eggshell before, I'm just adding a little bit of the rhubarb jam just to make that a little bit pinker, and just add a little bit more shading, and that I think works out quite well. Okay, so what we can do now, stencil 5. Now these are the true leaves. I'm going to carry on with the same flow. I'm going to make this work, and I'm going to come in again with the Margarita. So I'll do exactly the same as I've done before. I'm going to make sure I put plenty of ink down, actually. Plenty of ink. So we're going to have a real nice base of that Margarita sitting on those leaves. And again, what I've done before, I'm going to do exactly the same as I've done before. I'm going to come in with painted eggshell. But I will go heavier this time. Again, I want these to really stand out from the green that I've already done. I've just seen your comment there, Cheryl. Oh dear. I'm not sure if I'm a master today or not. I think hasn't quite worked out to plan, but you know what? It's going to look beautiful anyway. I think it's going to look lovely. I'm using all the right colours, so it's going to work out fantastic. Now what we've got here is some lovely detail on the vase. So I'm going to get my stencil brush into the painted eggshell, and I do like tone on tone. It's one of my favourite things to do. So I'm going to pick up that painted eggshell. I'm going to do that detail on the vase with the painted eggshell also. It's going to go on darker, but I think that's just going to look really, really classic. Perhaps add a little bit of natural turquoise just to add a bit of depth into there, just on the sides. If I take that away, yeah, you can see how that looks really lovely on the vase. And also these extra leaves with that extra painted eggshell is coming in a little bit darker as well. And I think what I might do, I'll just add a little bit extra onto that as well, just to make sure they really stand out. Okay. I actually think this looks really pretty. So what we've got coming in here now, we have the centre of the flowers, which I will do in pink actually, so that will bring that will bring out. So let me do those first. I'm going to pick up some rhubarb jam. I'm going to come into those centre there. So that's really going to make sure that our eye is drawn to the flowers and we know what they are, even though they might not be as recognisable a flower as we would hope initially. So I'm going to put those in there, and then I'm going to come in with the painted eggshell again, and not too dark, but I'm just going to come in with those extra little leaves which are sort of hiding in the background, so they will be in shadow. So I think it's nice just to have those as a different shade. And because we've got the painted eggshell going on elsewhere in the image, it won't look out of place. Yeah. What do we think? All right. Here we go. So we've got some more detail on the vase, and we can put a little bit of extra pink and rhubarb jam in the center there. Again, tone on tone, that'll work really nicely for us. And then I think I'll come in with natural turquoise on these parts of the vase, just to have a little bit of difference going on there. And there also. Now, I am bearing in mind with the light source that I used on the vase, so I'm putting more ink on the sides of these decorative vase details than I am elsewhere. So it just keeps that bit of a theme going on. And it does make it easier for you to do that shading as well. So that looks nice sitting on there. We have some leaves going on, so I'm going to come in with the with the Margarita again. Again, put quite a lot down, I think. So I really want this to be quite dark and quite bold. So lots of Margarita going on there before I then carry on and layer with the painted eggshell again. Because as you can see, that painted eggshell, it really adds as a nice shading, but doesn't take away the background of the Margarita. I think it works really nicely. Yeah, that works really nice. And then the final layer that we have is the detail for all the leaves. Now, what you can see through the stencil is where all the different colours are sitting. And I've said this before. So again, thinking back on that tone on tone that I do, that works so nicely. It depends on how much you want these extra details to really jump out. I quite like them to be subtle because you know that they're there, and it would look quite plain if they wasn't there. But it's just nice if they just sort of sit just quietly in the background. So that's why I'm doing the tone on tone. I'm starting off with the Margarita, and I can see where the Margarita is sitting underneath and where the lighter areas of the leaves are. Now, once I'm happy that I've done all of those areas, I'm going to swap to the painted eggshell, and I'm going to just go around with the painted eggshell and do the darker areas with this detail also. And that way you get a nice shaded and a nice blended effect without trying too hard. Really, you're using the colours that you've already laid down previously because you can see them through the stencil. So you will get that nice blended look as you go, and just work off the rest of the ink that you have sitting in your brush, just by sort of working across the rest of the design. So when I take that away, you're adding so much detail and texture to those leaves without even embossing it. Bear in mind, at the moment, this is that design. I've actually quite liked the way that worked out, although it wasn't quite the way that I designed, but it's given you a different colour combination with the colours that I've used. Now, bear in mind also, you could have equally done a lily. You could have done white flowers, and all these areas of green could have stayed white with like pink veins through the middle. So that's another thing to think about as well. Now, as I say, this is purely a flat design, which is testament to Lisa's inks and stencils in itself, that you can get that much effect and that much texture. But I will go ahead and die cut and emboss this. Now I'm working onto my metallic mat here, which means that when I put my die over the top here, it really grabs the die, which makes it so much easier for me to line up my stencil design in the die. Okay, so we can use the grab of the magnetic mat to really help us. And once we're happy with that being in place, I can pick up my ultimate. That die isn't going to move, which is just perfect, because sometimes if you're a little bit shaky, or if you a little bit clumsy like I can be sometimes, and I would easily knock that out of position, but I know it's being held, so it enables me to pick up a little bit of tape and just tape that into position as I take that to the die cutting machine. So bear with me 2 ticks. Okay, so I can remove my alternate now. I don't need to have that. So I can die cut my piece from there. That will fall out perfectly for me. And I can bring in my card. Now, you don't have to emboss, of course. You could just put that straight onto your card, but I am going to emboss this because there's so much detail on this embossing folder. Now, you could, of course, emboss these panels with just the embossing folder themselves. You don't have to. Stencils, particularly if you're using specialty card like the holographic card. And although this isn't a background design, if you're using a piece of specialty card that is smaller than the object that you're sort of embossing with, then there's no reason why you can't use this as a background embossed design also. So I have that lined up. That lines up perfectly, actually. So hopefully the light's gone so bright now, isn't it? I can take this out of the embossing folder for you. And that extra detail that has given, I'll just show you the reverse, that it has actually been embossed. It's so tricky to show you, but the amount of detail that has given is just phenomenal. It really is. Now, as I say, there's different ways you can actually decorate your card. You could just leave a panel down the side, and then 2 panels, and then the one down the center, and put this onto the front, which I think I might do actually. I don't want, although holographic is beautiful, I don't want it to overpower the poinsettia there. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to attach the panel to the center. Now remember also, you could have just put these across as well, which I think would look a really nice and modern way of doing that. And I think what I might actually try, do you remember the, oh, I can't remember, it's the circles or the bubble folder, one of the most recent ones. It actually looks like planets, and I think that would work really well on this sort of design as well, on this style card, because it gives you a really nice unusual background. So there we are. We've got the poinsettia, which I can put onto the front there, and I can use some 3D foam, I think. But before I do that, before I position this, I just want to take my die cut sentiments. Now remember, these are from the Eggshell sentiments, which are newly released. I'm using the thanks. So each word, as I say, comes with 2 dies. You have your larger die, which you wouldn't necessarily use on its own, but you also have the more detailed die, which does actually die cut the word, and you could use this one in particular by itself. You don't have to mat and layer, but in this instance I will. I've cut the word, so the thanks has been cut from the holographic card, which is another reason why I didn't want to put too much more holographic onto the card blank there. So that layers perfectly on there, as you can see. I've layered that onto white cardstock. So when I put this onto the card here, that's really going to pop and stand out. So I'm thinking that we could either have it like that, or we could have it like that. Again, entirely, you can have a play. There's so many different ways of doing this, but I think I might just leave that like that, and I might just put the poinsettia on with some 3D foam. I'll just put a few on just to make sure I can secure it in place, like so. Actually, the pink of the card and the green of those leaves there, I think works really well. So it wasn't necessarily the colourway I was looking to do, but I think it works. Hopefully you agree. What do you reckon? So I'm just put 3D foam on the back of my word also, and you can have that sitting on the front, and there we are. We have a dimensional card that does stand by itself. It's hard to show you from an overhead camera there, but yeah, it's a really nice design, and it shows you here that you can use Christmas designs, okay, poinsettia designs, but they can easily be put onto a non-festive card, I would say. So I shall leave that with you there today. I've run slightly over time, as I do seem to these days, but I do actually enjoy stenciling these with you. Thanks so much for joining me today. I think I'm back with you on Thursday, but I shall get an invite out to you as well. Mum's just been involved clearing the shed. Oh Lord, that's very brave of you, Mum. Hope you didn't come across any spiders. Actually, I found a spider last night. I had to put a glass over it until this morning. Well, it wasn't glass. I put a big glass flower vase over the top of it, so I had plenty of space to run around. And I think that'll be one of the boys' jobs to dispose of him this morning into the garden. So hopefully you didn't come across any spiders. I think we would have heard the screams by now. Right, thanks so much for joining me, everyone. I think I'll see you on Thursday. If not, enjoy the live with Lisa on Friday, and I shall see you again soon. Take care.